Okay, so let's talk about something huge. There's this massive shift happening right under our feet. And the rules about knowledge, about careers, the ones we've lived by for decades, they're all breaking down. We're moving from an old economy to a completely new one. Today, we're going to dig into what this new economy is and, more importantly, how you can win in it.
You know, for generations, the golden rule was simple. Information is power. Having access to it was the key that unlocked pretty much every opportunity. But what happens when that key gets copied a billion times? Well, when information is no longer scarce, the entire foundation of that power structure just crumbles. That era is officially over.
I mean, think about it. All those moats we used to build around our careers. A prestigious degree, access to a special database, a long list of credentials. All of them were built on one thing: controlling access to information. But now, information is everywhere. It's abundant. And because of that, those old advantages, they've been completely neutralized.
And this brings us to our new reality, what we're calling knowledge economics. And the central rule is this: it's no longer about what you know, it's about what you can do with what you know. Real value, the kind people pay for, is now created by turning all that knowledge into tangible outcomes and actual impact.
To really get our heads around just how big this change is, let's put these two worlds of value side by side. So, in this first section, we're going to compare the goals and the measurements of the old economy with the new ones. You'll see just how much the game has changed.
So the old world was all about content delivery. Just picture a traditional lecture hall where information is just being pushed at you. You were basically a passive consumer. But the new world, it's all about capability development. It asks a totally different question. Okay, that's interesting, but what can you actually build or solve or change with what you've just learned?
And of course, how we measure success has totally changed too. It used to be all about accumulation, kind of treating your brain like a hard drive that you just needed to fill up. The more facts you could store, the smarter you were, right? But now, intelligence is measured by impact. Learning isn't really complete until it gets out of your head and creates a real outcome in the world.
This all leads to how we prove we're any good at our jobs. Before, resumes and credentials just showed you were near a great institution. They were a proxy for skill. But today, portfolios and demonstrated skill are what matter. The new world rewards people who can actually show what they can do, not just list what they've studied.
This analogy just makes it crystal clear. The old model was like a gym membership where you got credit for seat time, just for showing up. But the new model is a fitness challenge. Nobody cares how many hours you spent in the gym. They only care if you can actually lift the weight. Simple as that.
So, the big question is, why is this tectonic shift happening so incredibly fast? Well, as we dive into our second section, we'll see that one factor is acting like a massive catalyst, pouring gasoline on this fire: artificial intelligence.
Let's be clear, AI didn't kill knowledge work. What it did was make routine thinking incredibly cheap. Almost free. Any task that's just about repeating something or memorizing facts or doing basic generic analysis, that kind of stuff is now commoditized. And information retrieval, it's instant.
So if AI is handling all the cheap stuff, what's left for us? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. This is the new scarcity. The skills that now command a huge premium are things like making sense of complexity, applying real human judgment, connecting ideas across totally different fields. These are the skills that require true understanding, not just access to data.
And here's the absolute core distinction you have to understand. AI is an amazing engine for finding the what. It can retrieve any piece of information in a split second. But it has no wisdom. It has no strategy. It literally cannot decide what should be done. That job remains entirely ours.
Here's a really powerful way to think about this. Thanks to AI, the bricks of information are now free, and they are piled up everywhere. Anyone can have them. But human judgment? That's the architect's blueprint. It's the rare strategic vision that organizes all those free bricks into a skyscraper, instead of just leaving them in a useless pile on the ground.
Okay, so we get it. The world has shifted. In our third section, let's get practical. What does this actually mean for you? How do you operate and create real value in this new world? This is your new strategic playbook.
So how do you win this new game? It really comes down to a conscious choice. You have to shift away from just hoarding information and get on the path of application. It's all about becoming a master of turning what you know into actual results.
Look, you win by converting everything you learn into a real asset.
You don't just read a book, you pull out an actionable framework you can actually use. You don't just go through an experience, you build a repeatable process from it. And you don't just have an insight, you turn it into a product or a system or a decision. Knowledge only compounds when you put it to work.
This might be my favorite analogy for this whole shift. In the old economy, information was like gold. It was rare, it was precious, and it was valuable just to have it. But in the new knowledge economy, information is like electricity. It's abundant, it's a utility, it's almost free. The power doesn't come from owning the electricity, it comes from being the engineer who can wire it into a machine that actually does something useful.
At the end of the day, all of this boils down to one simple but really important choice. In our final section, we're going to see that in this new world, you have to decide who you really want to be. Are you just going to be informed, or are you going to be truly effective?
So you have to ask yourself, which one am I? The informed person? Well, they focus on passively consuming things, on collecting credentials, on knowing a lot of stuff. But the effective person? They're all about applied insight, about building, solving, and creating tangible results. They don't just know, they do.
And here is the bottom line. The winners of this new era, they're not going to be the most informed people in the room. They will be the most effective. That's the new hierarchy of value. The biggest rewards no longer go to the person who knows the most. They go to the person who can do the most with what they know.
So as you navigate your career from now on, I want you to always come back to this one central question. In a world that is literally drowning in information, the only thing that creates real, durable value is what you can build with it. The question isn't what you know, it's what you can do.